Once Human is a strange but very interesting open world game with massive bosses that you can tackle alone or with multiple players. There's a lot of loot to collect and even creatures that can become your pet. The game is currently the number 9 most wishlisted game in the Steam charts, and I got to play it early thanks to Starry Games, who are also sponsoring the video. If Once Human at any point sounds interesting to you, check the special link in the video description where you can already pre-download, wishlist and check out a free demo of the game. And yes, I mentioned the game is strange, and that's because of a substance called Stardust which has infected the world after an apocalyptic event. At best, Stardust causes you to lose your sanity, and at worst, it mutates you into something else entirely. Many factions of survivors have started to make their claim on what's left of the world, including the Mayflies, who you belong to. They're a group of trouble-solving rangers that roam the lands to help other survivors, and these lands are actually pretty massive. In fact, Once Human boasts a map of 256 square kilometers, which is even bigger than AC Odyssey's world map. It's also filled with things to do, from puzzles to bosses to strange random encounters you can just wander into. And on top of that, you also have a main quest and a variety of side quests you can embark on. Like at one point I was sent out on a side mission to collect deviants, which are creatures or objects mutated by Stardust. And this all sounded like a simple fetch quest, but as I reached my first deviant, a Stardust infested plushie of a llama, I was transported to a mirror dimension. Here I had to find 4 specific plushies while navigating a field full of claymore explosives, which went really well, just don't ask about it. Before I could capture the second deviant, a dry iron, I first had to fight enemies that had been squished down into 2 dimensions, take them out and then retrieve the item, after which I returned to the quest giver to retrieve my reward. And trust me when I say this is just one of the many weird morphed creatures you can run into during side quests or out in the world. But not all of the deviants you come across are as friendly as that stuffed llama. In fact, many of them are out to kill you. They come in various shapes and sizes, from lamps that have been mutated into flying bugs to larger and more dangerous variants. My favorite so far are the spotlight guys though. They'll decrease your sanity if they shine their light on you, which lowers your maximum HP. But they can sometimes also drop the spotlight when they die, which allows you to use it as a pretty powerful weapon. And the deviants are not the only enemies in the game, as I've also come across the bandit-like vultures and the high-tech Rosetta factions, and neither of them were happy to see me. These factions boast good enemy variety too, with Rosetta offering some powerful elite troops with a riot shield, and the vultures using aggressive fighters and even suicide bombers to flush you out of cover. So a lot of different enemies to fight, but luckily you can arm yourself to the teeth with a wide variety of weapons and armor. They come in different rarities and tiers as well, deciding the amount of special perks and the damage respectively, and make no mistake, especially the perks can be pretty impactful. On weapons, you can get various types of elemental damages, like my assault rifle that can drop a frost AoE, and some perks are purely damage focused, like here I have a pistol that fires an explosive round every 4th shot. And even your melee weapons are pretty powerful, like this heavy axe that triggers a damage buff for me and nearby allies when I perform a heavy attack. Armors on the other hand have set bonuses, so while equipping one item already gives you a beneficial buff, equipping more of the same type will grant you even more buffs to empower a specific playstyle or activity. The most interesting part about these weapons and armor though is how you get them, as Once Human puts a big focus on weapon crafting, so the best way to get stronger gear is to unlock new blueprints. This can be done by completing the aforementioned open world activities, but there's also an arcade machine where you can spend in-game resources on random blueprints, hoping you'll get something legendary. To clarify, the currency you use for this is earned in-game, so while there are microtransactions available in Once Human, these are purely cosmetic and don't impact the gameplay, including this random blueprint mechanic. So if you want to try your luck from time to time, build one of these machines in your base. The best part is that even if you get a duplicate item, they're still useful, as you can use those to upgrade the tier of a blueprint, which increases the weapon's primary attributes like crit rate and damage in case of this SMG. Now let's look at all the open world activities where you can use these weapons, and of course if you like the video so far, leave a like, as that would really help us out. Now I already talked about quests, but there are also location objectives where you enter into a zone with a higher enemy density and have to hunt down treasures that often contain new blueprints as well. Sometimes these areas include elite enemies, which are like a mini boss fight, but if you really want a challenge, you'll need to keep an eye out for areas that have a rift anchor. Activating these is simple and nets you a couple of resources, but activating all of them in a region allows you to enter a monolith, a special structure with a giant red orb inside that triggers a special boss fight against against monsters called Great Ones. I've only been able to do one of these, but the Massive Treant definitely proved to be an exciting challenge. It uses massive AoE attacks and a powerful laser beam to keep you at bay, and it also rewards you for paying attention to the creature's design. While it might be easy to be distracted by the giant tree root monster, you can actually see the form of a woman perched on its back. This is actually the creature's weak spot, and hitting it enough times will topple it over, allowing you to unload your weapons and deal massive damage. Other examples of great ones include the spider-like Araxium and the lamppost monster Siren, so the designs are pretty varied and unique. Every region of the map has had one of these so far, and you slowly discover the identity of a region's great one by following the main quest, which includes a preview of the actual fight. I think this is a really cool system that made going into a new area and discovering what the region boss was one of my favorite things during my time with the game. And as I mentioned earlier, these regions are pretty big as well. Luckily, the game has many features that allow you to cross large distances very quickly. The map is littered with teleportation towers, which once activated, allow you to travel to any other teleportation point on the map for a small resource fee. When traveling to new regions, you can quickly cover ground with your motorcycle, which can be summoned right in front of you at any point. You can also cross large distances if you manage to gain some height and deploy a spectral raven that functions as a glider. There's also a ton of stuff to find, from ore veins and trees to mine and cut down for resources to the location objectives I mentioned earlier. And sometimes you'll randomly run into strange puzzles or events. To give you an example, I came across a series of strange statues with a note in the middle. This turned out to be a clue which told me to turn the statues to face each other, and after doing so, I was granted a chest with rewards. Later on, I was making my way to a lighthouse when suddenly a thick fog rolled in. The HUD notified me of a giant deviant hiding in the mist, which I had to kill, but luckily the game was also kind enough to drop a minigun right at my feet. So that encounter turned out to be much less terrifying than I thought it would be, and at the end I was rewarded with a loot chest. Once Human also has some survival elements, but while there are meters for things like thirst and hunger, they drain a lot slower than in other survival games I played. So while you need to scavenge for sources of food and water, it's not something you constantly need to pay attention to, leaving much more room for exploration and combat to take center stage. Building and crafting, on the other hand, are actually really important, which makes loot drops in the world that much more exciting. Every material and mineral you find has an important use. Even junk can be dismantled into useful components by building a special machine in your base. You'll also need more advanced crafting benches to make higher tier weapons and armor, so power progression is also tied to your base building. And there's even a whole suite of base defenses you can set up to protect a special refinery that draws in waves of enemies when it's activated. One thing I really like is that it's super easy to move your base from one place to the next. With the simple press of a button, you'll move your entire base, so that's every structure, workbench, chest, etc. to a new location. Really great, as higher level areas grant better rewards, so you want to take your camp with you to the next region every time. And I know that already sounds like a lot, but to be honest, I feel like I only scratched the surface of this game as well. There are systems I haven't yet interacted with, like the ability to capture special deviants that can help you with resource gathering in your base or even in combat. Like there's this jelly type deviant that can form a deployable wall of cover, and the llama plushie is back but with a top hat and a gun to help you fight. Looking back, I probably should have led with that. You can also team up with other players and take on harder versions of the monolith bosses for better rewards, and there are several PvP game modes and events as well. So if you're interested by what you saw here, check the special link in the description to check out the game on Steam and pre-download the demo that goes live on June 10th for a limited time until June 17th. If you play for 3 or more hours, you also get a special in-game reward. The full game will be released for PC a month later on July 9th. Let me know if you are going to try it out in the comments, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more news and content on upcoming open world games. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.